Hi, my name is Sydney and welcome to my very first Physical TBR challenge update of the new year, as well as my first monthly TBR video. I am well aware that it is most of the way into January already, and I should have posted this video like 3 weeks ago, but that is a-okay. I have been traveling all winter long, and so I'm back in my apartment for about a week and a half before I leave again, so I did not have the time or space or whereabouts to make this video until right now, and that's fine. The way I do my Physical TBR challenge videos is that I walk through my previous month's kind of bookish statistics, like how many books I got, how many books I read, how many books I unhauled, and what my current reading percentage is of the books I own. It's a check-in for me to see how I'm doing with my Physical TBR and how I'm doing with my own at-home library. I have read a small portion of the books behind me, and so this is me actively trying to fix that. Something new that I decided I wanted to do in 2025, and this is the first month I'm actually getting to do it, is set a very strategic monthly TBR. I picked the categories for this a while ago thanks to the inspiration of this book talker. I wish I could remember who it was, but it was just so long ago. So if somebody knows, please please comment them below so I can figure it out. It's driving me crazy. But it is going to help me not only kind of check away at the books that I want to read off my Physical TBR and my priority reads list, but also to make sure that I'm reading diversely and reading, more than just what's directly in front of me. So first, we're going to go through my own at-home library bookish stats. And unfortunately, this is going to be combined of all of December's stats as well as half of January statistics, because I can figure it out, which month is which, but at this point I'm just gonna do it up to right now, and it is January 19th. So in the month of December, I read 30 books, which is an insane amount of books, but I was trying to hit my reading goal. And so far in January, I have read 4. Of those, 4 last month were off my Physical TBR, and so far this month I've read 2 off my Physical TBR. I didn't unhaul any books in December, I don't think, but I'm about to unhaul one right now. And you're gonna see why in a second, but I'm unhauling this book. So sometimes the math in my spreadsheet doesn't really make sense to me, but I'm just going to show you what the spreadsheet is showing me. So at the end of November, I had 750 books exactly. So now unhauling one, I should have 749. But throughout the month of December and a little bit into January, I have since acquired 11 books, which brings my total up to 760 books owned. I found this book for sale at my local library. I think it's going to be really cool. While I was away on my trip, both of these came in the mail for me, and so I'm not entirely sure when they arrived, but I have already read both of them, so it's not adding towards my Physical TBR. My cousin gifted me this book and my friend gifted me this one, and so because it is brand new, I am actually going to replace it with the one that I already just unhauled, because I found that book in a little free library in 2021 and I still haven't read it, which is ridiculous. So this newer, brand new version that was gifted to me is going to go back into the shelves. I found this book in a little free library and I've already read it. It was one of my favorite books of last year, and so I did steal it, so I got this one for free. And then everything else I got from independent bookshops while I was traveling around California. These first 2 I got in blind date with books, so I didn't know exactly what I was getting, but I'm excited for these. I've already read this one and I will read this one eventually. And the last 4 books I got from independent bookstores. So I got Half a Soul, which I'm very excited for. I got Nocturnal, which I did already read. Got The Ever King. Super excited for this one. And lastly, this book on mythological creatures. It is one of the most beautiful books I've ever purchased. So including the books that I purchased in California and immediately read, my grand total of books unread in my library is 575, which means that of all my books, I've read 24.3%. Now before November, my reading percentage was 23.5%, so I'm a little confused as to how that happened, but I guess I read some in December, read some in January, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm gonna take it, because my goal for 2025 is to get my reading percentage up to 35 books read that I owned. Last year for 2024, my goal was 30, and clearly, because I'm only at 24 now, I did not make it. But I am so determined to get to 35% books read, owned this year. And currently where that stands, I just need to read 81 of the books behind me without buying any more. Now, I know that I am going to buy more because I'm subscribed to a limit crate. I have pre-orders that are going to come in the mail. I'm about to go to England and I'm going to get some books at Waterstones. So I know there are books coming in. So for every book that I bring in, I have to immediately read it so that it doesn't count towards it. So in addition to the number of books that I buy this year, I also have to read 81. And I'm not 100% certain if I can do that because that is a lot of books. But thankfully I can also unhaul books and that will add to it. So that is the goal for this year. So now the part 2 to each of these physical TBR updates is going to be my monthly TBRs. And like I said earlier, I've picked 5 different categories that I'm going to choose from for each month so I can make sure that my reading is, going in the direction I want it to. So this first category is National Recognition Days or Heritage Months. So the only National Recognition Day that I could find for the month of January was MLK's birthday, which is tomorrow, January 20th, which is when this video should be uploading. So I'm gonna go to my local library tomorrow. I'm already going tomorrow anyway, and I'm going to find something that they have, hopefully they have a front little section to show off like MLK's birthday. Here are books like either about him or about things that you care about, or, I'm gonna take this kind of vaguely and see what I can find. I'll take you along to my library maybe. We'll see what I can find for that. But I want to read something kind of in that sphere of, either give me something like historical and realistic, like nonfiction, which I don't read a ton, or something that pertains to today in the nonfiction sphere. I'm not entirely sure what I'll find yet. I'm going to leave this pretty open. The second category is my world map challenge, and I created in my spreadsheet, I have a world map in which I've listed every country in the whole world, and I want to read eventually a book either that takes place in that country or is written by a person in that country. And obviously this is going to take me years and years and years, so I'm going to take one at least once a month. And this month I did already pick out something. I picked it out before I left on my trip just in case I could find something, and I didn't. So I ended up picking out the Netherlands as the country, and I don't own any books that take place in the Netherlands or have authors by the Netherlands. I wanted to find something like fantasy or, something that's like, I don't know, just something that screams Netherlands. I've been to the Netherlands before and I absolutely adored it, so I was really excited for this to have it be my first pick, and I couldn't find anything in my immediate circle, so I did end up taking out a book from the library that I'm going to read. I looked through so many websites, and really the only thing that even mildly stood out to me was a book called Midnight Blue by Simone van der Vloot. She is a Dutch author, and it is a historical fiction book, I believe, so that is going to be my Dutch pick of the month. But I did have some runner-ups. I really wanted to read The Letter for the King by Tonke Dracht because I have heard this story before. I know it's kind of like King Arthur. I really wanted to read it, but it is just absolutely nowhere in any of my libraries online. I couldn't find it at all, so if I ever run into it, I'd love to read it. I also thought about Tulipomania. I think it'd be really interesting for me to read how tulips kind of came to the Netherlands and how it got so famous, as well as the Upside Down World meeting with the Dutch masters. I thought that was going to be really awesome, and it was my number 1 pick until I realized that Benjamin Moser was not a native Dutch person. He was just, I think he's American writing about Dutch, and I really wanted it to be somebody from the Netherlands. The third category for my monthly TBR is a pick off of my 25 and 25, aka my priority TBR, because in 2024 I read exactly 1 book off of my 24 and 24 list, and that is just, I refuse to let that happen this year. So I'm going to pick at least 1 book from this list every month. And this month I've already made my pick. I just started The King of Elfland's Daughter. This is a fantasy that predates The Lord of the Rings. I found this in Shakespeare & Co. in Paris. I've only gotten about a chapter into it, but it is just such a lyrical fantasy that just really, I don't know if it's the writing or just the way he's writing in this time, but I already feel like I'm transported into just such a different dimension, and right now I really freaking need that. Category 4 is to continue a series, and I've already actually attained this goal because I've read 2 already. I read, I guess, the prequel to Legends and Lattes. I read Bookshops and Bone Dust, and I loved that. That was my first 5-star book of the year. Oh, it was so good. And then I also read Wyatt, which is the second book after Cash by Jessica Peterson, and I loved those books. Those 2 are my favorite cowboy romances I've ever read. So I'm really happy that I've already gotten that checked off. I want to make sure that I am finishing, or at least getting further into, the amount of series that I'm reading. I have a video just on my series tracker on my channel, and you can see just how many freaking series I'm reading right now, so that's why this is in here. I need to finish them. And the 5th and final category on my monthly TBR is just to pick another book off my physical TBR, so literally anything behind me. I haven't decided yet, so let's decide right now. Okay, I am in such a big fantasy mood right now, so these are going to be the 4 options for this kind of second physical TBR book. So first, I think I might just read my new bestiary book. It's pretty short, and since I only have like a week left until I leave again, this might be the book that I have to read because it won't take that long. So this is a pretty good contender. Second is Half a Soul, that I did just purchase while I was in California, and I've been meaning to read it for so long, and it's not too long. It is very romantic-y though, and I'm not sure if that's what I want right now. I think I'm just really in a high fantasy mood. Next is An Enchantment of Ravens. I've had this book for a while and I really want to read it. I think it's like a YA romantasy, so it should go by really fast. I'm not entirely sure if that's what I'm in the mood for right now, but it is pretty short. And lastly, Morgan Is My Name. I'm pretty sure this is even on my 25 and 25, which would be super helpful if I read this. It is about Morgan Le Fay, which is kind of King Arthur. It is a little bit longer though, and it would take me a bit longer, but I think I'm more in the mood for this. So I think what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to pick this as my 5th book, and if I end up having time, I'll choose from one of these 3. So I guess officially I have 1 book from the library, or I guess 1 book in person from the library, 1 on my Kindle, and then these 2 books to read in the month of January. I'm going to have to prioritize these 2 and whatever book I get from the library tomorrow, because I leave in a week. So we'll see if I can finish my January TBR when there's literally like 10 days left in the month. I'm gonna tell you right now, February's video is also going to be a mess because I will be traveling for the first half of February anyway. So things will go back to normal for me in March.